Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo here on The King in Giallo. Our next stop on our journey through giallo cinema is the one and only giallo film from Tonino Valerii, My Dear Killer, released in 1972. Let's waste no time, so here is My Dear Killer Overview. My Dear Killer, also called Mio Caro Assassino, is an Italian-Spanish co-production released on February 3rd, 1972. The film is directed by Tonino Valerii, who also co-wrote the screenplay along with Franco Bucceri, Roberto Leoni, and Jose Gutierrez Maeso, who is credited but factually did not contribute and was listed for co-production reasons. Music is composed by the maestro Ennio Morricone. The cast is comprised of George Hilton as Inspector Luca Peretti, Salvo Randone as Commissioner Mayo, William Berger as Giorgio Canavese, Marilù Tolo as Dr. Anna Borghesi, Patty Shepard as Paolo Rossi, Piero Lulli as Alessandro Moroni, and Helga Liné as Mrs. Paradisi. The plot follows the investigation by Inspector Peretti into the deaths of an insurance investigator who was decapitated at a work site and the apparent man who operated the excavator. What the others deem as an open and shut case of accidental murder and then suicide appears to Luca to be a cover-up for something deeper. Through the course of the investigation, Luca finds ties to an unsolved case from last year, a kidnapping of a little girl and double murder of the child and her father. Now, one by one, more victims begin to pile up, all of whom may be in possession of evidence which could expose the kidnapper. Luca manages to focus the list of suspects down to the little girl's family, but time is running out. My Dear Killer is one of the most underrated yet disturbing giallo films of the 1970s. The script manages to throw plenty of twists and turns at us without damaging the overall story. The pool of suspects is manageable, yet keeps you guessing until the very end, and the kills are some of the most graphic and creative up to this point within the genre. A lot of the film's success can be attributed to its director, Tonino Valerii, who right from the first scene demonstrates his skill in both telling a story through visual means and keeping us engaged to find out more. The surprises that unfold find a balance of being shocking while still remaining cohesive to the surrounding story. The pacing, despite containing plenty of scenes of dialogue and exposition, which are all a part of your standard investigative plot, manages to keep leaning forward and knows how to give enough without slowing the story down or bogging the audience with too much new information. Along with this, Valerii knows how to extract some great performances from his actors, especially his lead, George Hilton, who turns in a very unique performance compared to his canon of giallo film roles, which mostly consisted of playboys with a dark side. Hilton's Inspector Luca Peretti is someone we want to spend more time with. He proves to be a very capable detective, managing to see details overlooked by others, and we know we are in good hands with him. The film also gives us a taste of his private life away from the job, humanizing him like other great giallo detectives from previous films such as Detective Duca Lamberti in Death Occurred Last Night, 1970, and Naked Violence, 1969, and Inspector Tellini in The Black Belly of the Tarantula, 1971. Similar to these examples, Peretti's personal life helps to tell us more about who he is, and these scenes actually manage to feel very genuine as we see his rocky relationship with his girlfriend and its ups and downs, and their banter, which helps to ground the film in a level of realism. As an investigator, Peretti is also likable through and through. Sure, he's not perfect, but these scenes show us a human who cares about others and is committed to justice without overstepping or abusing his power. Along with this, the film makes great usage of cause and effect and consequences. So, when Luca is slow to make a connection or fails to respond to a situation, he sees the mistake he's made and reels from it. He takes responsibility for his action or inaction, making him easily one of the most human detectives in the giallo film genre. The murder set pieces are some of the most inventive and brutal up to this point. Sure, we have a fake head and comical bludgeoning, but one kill in particular involving a circular saw is so bloody, so gory in the mind's eye, that its like won't be seen for another decade until Lucio Fulci's hyper-violent giallo slasher, The New York Ripper, 1982, or even Brian De Palma's American giallo, Body Double, 1984. Uh-oh, I said an American movie is a giallo. I better hope the Discord people don't berate me in the comments.
Get a life, ladies and gentlemen.
Or shut the fuck up.
The film is gripping right to its final moment. The climax of the film sees Luca assembling all of the family members so he can reveal who the killer is. After delivering a grand speech, of course, something which feels at home in an Agatha Christie story or Knives Out. There are a few minor nitpicks I have. The reveal, although not a total surprise, is handled intensely. The only caveat for the finale is that the movie ends very abruptly. Yes, the story is resolved, but the audience isn't given a denouement to sit with or process what just happened. All in all, I still like the ending. The film both looks and sounds great, thanks to the cinematography by Manuel Rojas and the score by Ennio Morricone. Antonio Valerii, born in 1934, began his filmmaking journey in the 1960s as a screenwriter and as an assistant director, ADing for about half a dozen films before working with Sergio Leone on A Fistful of Dollars, 1964, as the film's dialogue director, and then again with Leone on For a Few Dollars More, 1965, as Leone's assistant director. Valerii also co-wrote the Italian-Spanish horror film Terror in the Crypt, aka Crypt of the Vampire, 1964, starring Christopher Lee, and writing alongside giallo writer veteran Ernesto Gastaldi. In 1966, Valerii transitioned into director and handled numerous spaghetti westerns including Day of Anger, 1967, The Price of Power, 1969, A Reason to Live, A Reason to Die, 1972, as well as the spaghetti western comedy My Name is Nobody, 1973, starring Terence Hill and Henry Fonda, written by Ernesto Gastaldi from an idea by Sergio Leone and scored by Ennio Morricone. That lineup is just legendary. Valerii was active in the film industry until the 1990s, and My Dear Killer remains his only entry into the genre. George Hilton leads the cast with his stylish mustache. It's so welcoming to watch him take a break from his usual character type and dig deep to give us one of his greatest performances. The supporting cast includes Salvo Randone, seen in The Possessed, 1965, William Berger, seen in The Murder Clinic, 1966, as well as $5 for an August Moon, 1970, and Marilù Tolo, seen in Night of Violence, 1965. Fans of Spanish horror will also see more familiar faces, such as Patty Shepard, seen in Werewolf Shadow, 1971, and Helga Liné, seen in Horror Express, 1972. Here is some IMDb trivia for the movie. My Dear Killer is the film debut of actress Lara Wendel. George Hilton was cast in My Dear Killer by Tonino Valerii. Valerii stated that the role was difficult to Hilton and that he was, quote, told by many people that it does not suit you. Hilton considered the role to be a, quote, challenging task, as he found Valerii to be a, quote, very demanding director. This included the final scene where Hilton has a long monologue that was changed, only allowing Hilton half an hour to memorize the new dialogue. Hilton spoke positively about the film later, saying that of all the films he had done, he would save about 4 of them, including Massacre Time, The Ruthless Four, The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, and My Dear Killer. As stated earlier, this is the only giallo directed by Tonino Valerii, a filmmaker better known for numerous spaghetti westerns. He pays tribute to his roots in this film by having a character watch Django on TV during a scene. Tonino Valerii and Roberto Leoni reshaped the script, with particular attention given to the psychological examination of the characters. For one thing, they added the naked little girl that appears at the door of the artist uncle to allude to the fact that he might be a pedophile. They also added more depth to Stefania's mother, who sinks into madness after the loss of her girl. Thank you for watching this overview video. As of the time of recording this, My Dear Killer can be found on Shudder as well as YouTube. Stay tuned for my unscripted movie review for My Dear Killer as well as the GialliTally. Comment your predictions for the AZ score for the movie and the final GialliTally score. Thank you very much for your continued support. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
Un gettone, per favore, è urgente.
Ah, da un po' strompipalle.